The research vessel Asteria hung in geosynchronous orbit above Earth, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in ways that made it nearly invisible to conventional detection methods. Chief Researcher Vex T stood before the ship's observation window, all 6 of their eyes fixed on the blue planet below. Their research mission had been simple: observe and document human social structures from a safe distance. No contact, no interference. That was before their junior researcher Zinare had made what they were now realizing was a catastrophic error in judgment. You did what? Vex T's bioluminescent patterns flashed warning colors across their translucent skin. I acquired test subjects, Zinare replied, their antennae twitching with what might have been pride. 5 juvenile humans, all approximately 8 solar cycles old. Perfect specimens for studying their developmental patterns. How? Vex T demanded, though they dreaded the answer. During what the humans call a field trip to one of their nature preserves. Our cloaking technology made it simple. They didn't even see us coming. Vex T's central heart nearly stopped. You abducted them? Without consent? Without documentation? Without. They had to pause to modulate their voice frequencies back to a manageable range. Without informing their guardian adults. The opportunity was perfect, Zinare insisted. They were temporarily separated from their main group. Our preliminary scans showed them to be in excellent health. And their size made them ideal for our containment facilities. The ship's emergency alerts began blaring before Vex T could respond. Red warning lights pulsed through the crystalline corridors as their security chief, Colnr, burst onto the observation deck. Multiple human vessels approaching at high velocity, Colnr reported, their combat scales bristling. Military configurations. Energy signatures indicating weapons charged. How did they find us so quickly? Zinare's antenna drooped in confusion. Our cloaking technology is useless against a species that has evolved to track their young through any obstacle, Vex T snapped. They turned to their command console, bringing up the human information networks. What they saw made their secondary heart join their primary in near failure. The screens were flooded with alerts. Missing children. Last seen at Yellowstone National Park. Massive search operation underway. Military mobilization. Satellite networks redirected. Every human detection system on the planet was now focused skyward. Chief Researcher, Colnr interrupted, we're receiving a transmission. Multiple frequencies. They're demanding immediate communication. The main view screen activated, revealing a human female whose expression made Vex T's survival instincts scream for immediate retreat. She wore a military uniform adorned with indicators of high rank, but it was her eyes that commanded attention. They held the same look Vex T had once seen in a cornered predator protecting its young. This is Admiral Rebecca Martinez of the United Earth Defense Force, she stated, her voice carrying the kind of calm that preceded devastating storms. You have taken our children. Return them immediately, unharmed, or face the consequences of your actions. Admiral, Vex T began, trying to project diplomatic authority despite their rising panic, there has been a grave misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Martinez cut them off. Our quantum tracking systems detected your transport signatures. We have visual confirmation from the children's embedded safety monitors. You have exactly 1 hour to return them safely, or we will be forced to take action. And believe me, her voice dropped to a near whisper that somehow seemed more threatening than any shout, you do not want to see humanity take action when it comes to our children. The transmission cut off. Vex T turned to their security chief. Show me the human vessels. The display shifted to reveal a formation of warships unlike anything in their database. The vessels bristled with weapons that shouldn't have been possible given Earth's known technology level. More ships were arriving by the minute, taking up attack positions around the Asteria. Tactical analysis. Vex T asked quietly. Their weapons could penetrate our shields in approximately 2.3 minutes of sustained fire, Colnr reported. And those are just the weapons we can detect. There are energy signatures we've never seen before. Fascinating, Zinare murmured, still somehow missing the gravity of the situation. Their technological advancement rate when threatened must be exponentially higher than our estimates. Get the children, Vex-T ordered, not even looking at their junior researcher. All research data is to be purged. Prepare them for immediate return. But the research potential. Now. As Zinare scurried away, Vex-T began composing an emergency report to the Galactic Science Council. It would begin with a strong recommendation to reclassify humans from developing species of interest to extreme caution. Protective instincts exceed known parameters. In the medical bay, the 5 human children were actually having what they considered a wonderful adventure, completely unaware of the interstellar crisis they had inadvertently triggered. They had assumed the strange-looking aliens were part of some elaborate school presentation, and were currently teaching the medical AI how to play duck, duck, goose. You're supposed to run when someone says goose, one of them was explaining to the confused artificial intelligence as Vex-T entered. Children, Vex-T said carefully, using their most soothing voice frequencies, it's time for you to return home. Ah, already? A small girl with braided hair pouted. But we didn't finish teaching the floating light ball how to play red light, green light. Perhaps another time, Vex-T replied diplomatically, while making a mental note to update all research protocols to include the phrase, absolutely no contact with human juveniles, in large, flashing letters. As they prepared the children for transport, Vex-T couldn't help but notice how the human warships had somehow multiplied again. The sensors were now detecting quantum fluctuations suggesting even more vessels emerging from what humans called slip space, a technology that, according to their database, humanity wasn't supposed to possess for at least another century. It seemed that threatening their offspring had accelerated their military development schedule significantly. The next hour would prove to be the longest of Vex-T's career, as they carefully orchestrated the return of 5 cheerful children who thought they just had the best field trip ever, all while trying to prevent an interstellar war started by what was supposed to be a simple research mission. They had a feeling the Galactic Science Council was going to be updating a lot of protocols after this incident. Starting with a new primary directive, never, ever mess with human children. Admiral Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Vigilant, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the alien vessel through the quantum imaging display. As a mother herself, she felt the familiar surge of protective rage that had mobilized Earth's entire defense force in record time. But as an admiral, she kept that fury carefully contained, channeling it into strategic preparation. The Emergency Response Center in Yellowstone was chaos incarnate. 5 sets of parents, dozens of military personnel, and a hastily assembled first contact team all crowded around holographic displays showing real-time footage from the children's safety implants. The standard tracking devices, mandatory for all school field trips since 2040, had proven unexpectedly useful for averting interstellar diplomatic disasters. Their vital signs are stable, Dr. Ishikawa reported, monitoring the biomedical feeds. Blood pressure and heart rates indicate excitement rather than distress. They appear to be playing. James Richardson, father of 6-year-old Nathan, wasn't comforted. They're conducting experiments on our children. His hands clenched the edge of the command table, knuckles white. A former Marine, he had already volunteered to lead a boarding party if negotiations failed. Negative, Lieutenant Commander Park interjected, analyzing the sensor data. The aliens appear to be in a state of increasing panic. Their energy signatures are fluctuating wildly. Whatever their initial intentions, they seem to have realized their mistake. More warships continued to emerge from slip space, the experimental drives pushed to their limits as humanity's protective instincts overcame the usual technological limitations. Ships that weren't supposed to be combat-ready for months had been rushed into service, crews working miracles to bring weapons systems online. The alien vessel now found itself surrounded by the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Every nation had contributed ships, setting aside political differences in the face of a threat to their children. Chinese quantum plasma cannons powered up alongside American gravity lances and Indian temporal disruptors. In orbit around Mars, the Ares defense platform activated for the first time, its massive frame reorienting toward Earth as automated systems recognized a Sigma-level threat to human juveniles. The platform's AI had been programmed with every parent's protective instincts, multiplied by the processing power of a quantum supercomputer. Message from the lunar colonies, a communications officer announced. They've redirected their mining lasers and are standing by. Martinez nodded, noting how quickly humanity's scattered outposts had united. Any response from our visitors? They're preparing some kind of transport operation, Park reported. Energy signatures consistent with their initial abduction technology. All ships maintain targeting solutions, Martinez ordered. If those children show any signs of distress. She left the threat unspoken. It didn't need to be said. Every ship commander knew what would happen if the aliens harmed a single hair on those children's heads. Humanity had spent decades preparing for first contact, developing careful protocols and diplomatic procedures. All of that had gone out the window the moment alien hands had touched their young. In the Emergency Response Center, Maria Patel watched the vital signs of her daughter Priya with tears in her eyes. As head of xenolinguistics at the Global First Contact Initiative, she had dreamed of meeting alien life. But not like this. Never like this. Movement detected, Park announced. They're powering up their transport system. The tension on the bridge reached a breaking point. Weapons officers kept their fingers steady over firing controls, fighting every instinct to shoot first and ask questions later. The alien vessel's shields had been analyzed and catalogued. Firing solutions had been calculated. If diplomacy failed, the combined fleet would reduce the crystalline ship to atoms in under 3 minutes. A new transmission came through. The alien leader, they had identified themselves as Chief Researcher VexT, appeared on screen. Their bioluminescent patterns seemed muted, suggesting what xenopsychologists interpreted as extreme stress. Admiral Martinez, the alien said, "We are prepared to return the children. We apologize for our grave error in judgment. We had not fully understood the implications of our actions. You will understand them very clearly if those children are not returned in exactly the same condition we lost them in," Martinez replied, her voice carrying the kind of deadly calm that had made hardened warriors step back during her rise through the ranks. The transport process began. On the ground, parents crowded around the designated return zone, medical teams standing by. The air shimmered with the same iridescent light that had taken the children, and then. "Mom! Dad! You'll never believe what happened." 5 excited voices rang out as the children materialized, each clutching what appeared to be alien toys and treats. "We met real aliens. They taught us games and showed us their ship and gave us space candy." The medical teams swarmed in, scanners whirring as they checked for any sign of harm or alteration. Parents wrapped their children in desperate hugs, relief warring with lingering anger at the aliens who had dared to take them. Above, the alien vessel remained surrounded by humanity's combined fleet, its crystalline hull reflecting the weapons locked onto every vital system the analysts had identified. "The children appear to be unharmed," Dr. Ishikawa confirmed after reviewing the medical scans. "They're showing signs of mild sugar elevation, presumably from whatever space candy they were given, but otherwise they're in perfect health." Martinez kept her ships in position, even as she felt some of the tension ease from her shoulders. "Chief Researcher," she addressed the alien vessel, "you will remain in place while we conduct thorough medical examinations. Any anomaly, no matter how small, will be considered an act of war." The alien's response came quickly. "Understood, Admiral. We will comply fully. And, we will be updating our research protocols significantly after this incident." In the response center, Nathan tugged at his father's sleeve. "Dad, can we go back tomorrow?" The floating light ball almost figured out how to play tag. James Richardson looked up at the screens showing humanity's arsenal aimed at the alien vessel, then down at his son's excited face. The disconnect between the children's adventure and the near war it had triggered would have been almost funny if it hadn't been so terrifying. "I don't think they'll be doing any more field trips, buddy," he said softly. "I have a feeling they learned an important lesson about asking permission first." Above, humanity's fleet maintained their vigil, a clear message to any watching species: you do not touch our children. Ever. Back on their homeworld, the Galactic Science Council convened an emergency session. The crystalline amphitheater hummed with concerned murmurs as Vex-T's report was presented. The massive holoscreen displayed footage from the incident, showing the unprecedented speed of human military mobilization. High Counselor Narc's chromatophores shifted through patterns of deep concern. "In all our centuries of xenological research, we have never encountered such a response. Their technological advancement accelerated by approximately 40 years when they detected a threat to their young." The footage showed human warships emerging from supposedly impossible spatial rifts, weapons that shouldn't exist for decades already fully operational. The data streams told an even more alarming story: the humans had broken through 3 different theoretical barriers in propulsion, weapons technology, and energy generation in the span of hours. Their entire species entered what we can only describe as an emergency evolution state, the xenobiologist Temare explained, her tendrils weaving complex patterns of scientific fascination and existential dread. Their normal technological development curve became exponential the moment they detected their offspring in potential danger. New data poured across the screens, brain scans of human parents during the crisis, showing activation patterns that defied conventional neurological models. Stress hormones that should have degraded cognitive function instead enhanced it. Fear responses that should have triggered flight reflexes fueled impossible feats of engineering and coordination. "They have no technological governor species," Narc noted gravely. "No elder race guided their development. They evolved these protective instincts naturally, shaped by their planet's harsh conditions and their young's long developmental period." The council chamber fell silent as recordings played of human parents during the crisis. They watched as scientists worked through problems that should have taken years to solve, engineers bypassed safety protocols that should have been impossible to circumvent, and military personnel operated with a level of coordination that bordered on hive mind efficiency. "Most concerning," Temare continued, "is that this response was triggered not just by threats to their own offspring, but to any human child. Their protective instincts extend to all juveniles of their species, regardless of genetic relation." The council reviewed historical data that had been previously overlooked. Humans rushing into burning buildings to save unknown children. Adults lifting vehicles many times their body weight when young ones were trapped beneath. Entire communities mobilizing to search for missing children they had never met. "We must reclassify them immediately," another council member insisted. "Their current designation as developing species of interest is dangerously inadequate. They are the only known species that becomes more dangerous, more innovative, and more coordinated when threatened, rather than less." Vex-T, still shaken from the incident, stepped forward. "There's more. Analysis of their entertainment media suggests they deliberately undersell their capabilities in this regard. They create stories about protecting their young that seem exaggerated, but our data shows these depictions are actually conservative compared to their real capabilities." The council watched clips from human media, parents performing seemingly impossible feats to rescue children, communities uniting to protect their young, the concept they called Mama Bear Mode illustrated in various forms. What they had dismissed as artistic hyperbole now seemed more like documentation. "Their entire civilization is built around this protective instinct," Temare observed. "Their education systems, their medical research, their technological development, all of it prioritizes the safety and development of their young. Even their space program was partially motivated by the desire to ensure their children's future among the stars. Anarchy's chromatophores settled into the deep purple of formal decree. We must establish new protocols for any species exhibiting similar traits. The humans have demonstrated that conventional models of technological development and societal behavior fail to account for the variable of juvenile protection instincts. The council chamber's quantum processors hummed as they calculated the implications. The humans hadn't just demonstrated advanced technological capabilities, they had revealed an entirely new model of species development. One driven not by simple survival or advancement, but by an unwavering imperative to protect their young. Let this incident serve as a lesson, NRC concluded. We have discovered something unprecedented, a species that transforms existential threats to their offspring into evolutionary advantages. The humans don't just protect their children, they reshape reality itself to ensure their safety. The new classification was unanimously approved: Apex Protectors, exercise extreme caution. It was the first time in Council history that a species had been given a completely new classification category. But then, the humans had proven they were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The situation aboard the Asteria had grown increasingly tense. Earth's combined fleet maintained their positions, weapons still locked on every vulnerable point of the crystalline vessel. The medical examinations of the children continued on the surface, each scan analyzed with microscopic precision for any sign of alien tampering. Admiral Martinez received hourly updates from Dr. Ishikawa's team. Brain chemistry normal. Cellular structure unchanged. No sign of nanites or foreign bodies. Each report lifted a fraction of the weight from her shoulders, but the fleet remained ready. Trust, once broken, wasn't easily restored. On the Asteria, Vex-T faced a different crisis. Their quantum communications array had been flooded with urgent messages from dozens of alien civilizations, all demanding explanations. The incident had caught the attention of every spacefaring race in the sector. The Centaurians are requesting immediate consultation, Kolanar reported. They're concerned about their own research stations near human space. The Proxima Collective has already begun evacuating non-essential personnel from their observation posts. Reports streamed in from across the galaxy. Species that had been quietly studying humanity were suddenly revealing themselves, desperate to establish proper protocols before they too triggered the humans' protective fury. The message was clear: no one wanted to be the next civilization to learn this lesson the hard way. In orbit, Lieutenant Commander Park detected unusual energy signatures from the lunar surface. Admiral, the colonies are powering up something new. Something big. Martinez checked her quantum tablet. No such project existed in her records, yet the energy readings were unmistakable. The lunar colonists, many of them parents themselves, had apparently been building unauthorized defensive systems. Just in case. New contact. Park's voice carried an edge of disbelief. Deep space vessel approaching at FTL speeds. Sir, it's the Artemis. Martinez felt her jaw tighten. The Artemis was humanity's first attempted FTL ship. It had failed its initial tests 6 months ago and been deemed a dead project. Apparently, the engineering team had kept working in secret, and the current crisis had pushed them to achieve what should have been impossible. Dr. Ishikawa's voice crackled over the quantum comm. Admiral, we've detected something unusual in the children's neural scans. It's not dangerous, she added quickly as weapons officers tensed. But, they're showing signs of increased synaptic development. The alien environment somehow accelerated their learning capacity. In the response center, the children were still chattering excitedly about their adventure. And then the floating lights made pictures in the air. Nathan demonstrated with his hands. They taught us about stars and stuff, but like, really cool. James Richardson watched his son with a mixture of pride and lingering fear. The boy's vocabulary had noticeably improved, and he was drawing surprisingly accurate diagrams of stellar phenomena. The alien field trip had apparently included some actual education. On the Asteria, Zinare had finally grasped the magnitude of their mistake. Chief Researcher, I've been analyzing the humans' response time. Their fleet mobilization should have taken weeks. Their weapons advancement should have taken years. It's as if protecting their young overrides the normal laws of technological development, Vex-T finished. Yes, we're beginning to understand that. Though I fear we've only scratched the surface of their capabilities in this regard. The quantum feeds showed more human ships emerging from slip space, each one representing a theoretical breakthrough that should have taken decades to achieve. The humans had compressed centuries of potential development into hours, driven by nothing more than the need to protect their children. Message from the Galactic Science Council, COL-NAR announced. They're implementing emergency protocols. All research stations near human space are to establish immediate diplomatic contact. No more covert observation. Martinez's voice came through again, carrying that same deadly calm. Chief Researcher, our final scans are almost complete. I trust you understand that any future contact with human children will go through proper diplomatic channels. Absolutely, Admiral, Vex-T responded quickly. We've already begun implementing new protocols. All research vessels are being equipped with what we're calling the Parent Protocol, automatic warnings and shutdowns if human juveniles are detected within range. In the medical bay on Earth, Priya Patel was explaining alien mathematics to her stunned mother. The girl's neural patterns showed she had somehow absorbed complex theoretical concepts simply by playing what she thought were games with the ship's AI. Mom, they showed us how stars dance, she exclaimed, drawing equations that shouldn't have made sense to a child her age. Can we visit again? Please. Maria Patel looked up at the screens showing humanity's assembled fleet, each ship representing a miracle of accelerated development, each weapon a testament to their species' unrelenting drive to protect their young. I think, she said carefully, any future visits will need to be properly scheduled. The crisis was nearly over, but its implications were only beginning to ripple through the galaxy. Humanity had revealed itself not just as a technological force to be reckoned with, but as something entirely new, a species that could bend the rules of development itself when their children were at stake. 10 years after the field trip incident, humanity had taken its place among the galactic community. The Asteria's mistake had accelerated Earth's integration into interstellar society by several decades. Now, a new wing of the Galactic Museum of Xenological History was being dedicated to what had become known as the Parent Protocol. Vex-T, now serving as senior ambassador to Earth, stood before the holographic display showing the events of that fateful day. The exhibit's centerpiece was a piece of the Asteria's crystalline hull, still bearing the targeting marks from dozens of human weapons that shouldn't have existed. The humans have changed everything, they addressed the assembled diplomats. Not just our protocols, but our understanding of species development itself. We now recognize that protecting their young isn't just a biological imperative for them, it's the core driver of their evolution. The museum's quantum displays showed the aftermath, hundreds of research stations revealing themselves to humanity, desperate to establish proper diplomatic channels. The emergence of new technologies born from that crisis, now benefiting multiple civilizations. The Parent Protocol had become the foundation of all first contact procedures. Nathan Richardson, now 18, led tours at the new Human-Alien Cultural Exchange Center. The funny thing is, he told visitors, we thought it was just a really cool field trip. We had no idea we almost started an interstellar war. The center had become a symbol of the new relationship between humanity and the galaxy's other civilizations. Every diplomatic station now included dedicated facilities for cultural exchange with human children, under strict supervision and with multiple layers of parental consent. Earth's defensive fleet remained the most advanced in known space, its ships powered by technologies that had emerged from those desperate hours of innovation. The Mother Bear response, as aliens now called it, had become legendary. Species across the galaxy studied how humans could achieve in hours, when their children were threatened, what took others centuries of steady development. Admiral Martinez, about to retire, gave her final address to the Interstellar Defense Academy. "We learned as much about ourselves that day as the aliens did," she told the cadets. "We discovered that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our unconditional drive to protect our children, all our children." In the Galactic Science Council archives, a new classification had been created: evolutionary protectors. Earth was its only member. The classification noted that human advancement wasn't linear but reactive, capable of exponential leaps when their young were threatened. It warned that any species considering research on human children should first consider whether they were prepared for their entire civilization to become a cautionary tale. The children from the Asteria incident had grown up to become bridges between their species. Priya Patel now headed the Xenological Mathematics Institute, her understanding of alien mathematical concepts, gained through what she thought were simple games, revolutionizing human science. Her mother headed the diplomatic corps, ensuring no other alien species would make the same mistake. In orbit around Earth, automated warning buoys broadcasted a simple message to all approaching vessels: "Welcome to human space. All research vessels, please note, unauthorized contact with human juveniles will be considered an act of war. We remember the Asteria. We protect our own." The message was unnecessary. No species had dared to interfere with human children since that day. They had learned that humans didn't just protect their young, they reshaped reality itself to do so. The galaxy had gained a new understanding: mess with human children, and you weren't just risking war. You were risking becoming an evolutionary catalyst for a species that turned parental instincts into technological leaps. In the end, that failed research mission had taught the galaxy its most important lesson: in the vast cosmic ocean of space, there was nothing more dangerous than a human protecting a child. Not because of their weapons or their technology, but because of an unshakable truth: humans would break the laws of physics themselves to keep their children safe. And that, as every spacefaring race now knew, was not a hypothesis anyone wanted to test again.